What happens when an Oracle from GTA 5 gets converted, but then it's not really suitable for getaways in GTA 4 for a variety of reasons. I have to edit it. This actually wasn't that hard. I ended up using the traction deltas from the Oracle 1, basically the first generation based off the E65 series, or E65 chassis code 7 series. I added a little bit of ground clearance. You can hardly tell, but before, I mean, this thing would get stuck on everything. I added a little bit. I don't remember what I did with the torque. I know I reduced the brake force because the car, even with ABS on, for whatever reason or other, once you start to hit the brakes, it just wants to, like, go straight. And this whole car is just, I don't know, I don't understand the handling perhaps as much as others do, but this is not as much of a fluid car as the E65 7 Series. This, I believe, is the FO1? Or FO3? No, it's FO3, because FO1 was for the 3 Series, I believe. I know it starts with the chassis code F. So, I'll show you kind of what I mean here. For one, this puts the power down a little bit better than the first generation Oracle, in spite of having a higher torque value in the handling editor. This is how it's intended. At least that's how I intended it to be. But now, see how it kind of wants to go, see how it has trouble turning even when braking, even with ABS? Now, okay, fine, whatever. ABS enabled doesn't make everything better, but I expect it to be a little bit more fluid than that. But like I said, this has to be this way. Part of it is also, this thing weighs about 100 kilograms more than the first generation Oracle, so on top of just having more power, it also has more weight to deal with, so, and you definitely feel this is not as agile. Now, there are ways around this, of course. If you're not going full throttle, the car will turn in better and you'll have less understeer. But when you go full throttle, the car just wants to go straight, especially after second gear. Like, see here, I'm going like lock-to-lock steering, and I'm not really getting the tail step out that much. I'm in lower here, but I require a larger road to demonstrate this goofiness here. It's also a little bit wider than the first generation Oracle, which you think, well, how can that be possible? Oracle 2 says, hold my beer. Now, another interesting thing about this car, I turned down the deformation values, and for whatever reason or other, the wheels are still really fragile. So you're going to want to be careful driving this thing and avoid collisions at any of the 4 extremities, so to speak. If you have to take a hit, try and take it either in the doors or just square on, either in the front or the tail. Otherwise, you're going to have problems. Actually, let me fix this with a trainer here. Now, you think, well, this car, it has less ground clearance than the first generation Oracle, and yet it seems like it doesn't really mind bumps or anything or undulations, and that's correct because this car actually has a ton of suspension travel. Look at how much that's actually a lot of suspension travel. You don't really notice it, and it's kind of hard to do when there's all this traffic around, but that's one thing I made sure to keep because that's the one thing this car has that's consistent from the first generation Oracle, beyond it just being kind of heavy and not being super fluid. Really, this is almost another midpoint between, say, except between different cars. This is less understeer than the Presidente, but it's slower. It's quicker in a straight line than the first generation Oracle, but it's not as fluid. Really, I mean, it's just like my foot's to the floor here, and yeah, it's got a bit of oversteer in first gear. Obviously, it's where you have the most power. But watch, I'm in second gear. Oh, where'd all the oversteer go? Yeah, because the car just wants to go straight, unless you're in first gear. No, but now I'll do another test. I'm not at full throttle here. Now I'm at full throttle. The car will more or less straighten itself out with minimal wheel spin, and this is a kind of car for someone that likes to have average speed, but also looks to go as straight as possible through every turn, no matter what. I mean, this is not a, we'll say, duck and weave or a car that'll dance, so to speak. I mean, obviously, like I said, in first gear, it is pretty nimble. Part of that is just because of how much power it has, and you can finally overcome the rear tire grip to a substantial degree. But this is very much a missile. Now, it's not totally point and shoot. I mean, I can make corrections, but I have to lift off the throttle some. It's not like the Presidente where it's very much you go straight, you go really fast, you win. See, this card's a little different. See how it handles these bumps? Oh, I see how it handles the bumps, and then I spin out and crash. But look, I took no wheel damage in spite of all of that, and had I not had my steering at a weird angle, I might have been able to recover that. I'm really impressed with this car in a lot of ways. I mean, for not having a ton of ground clearance, it doesn't get stuck on as many things as you think it will. It's that I do prefer the first generation Oracle more, but I think for a borough such as Alderney, this might actually be a better choice just because of the nature. I mean, Alderney, a lot of it's open terrain, more point and shoot as opposed to ducking and weaving. Now, obviously, there's going to be a need for both no matter what you do with a 6-star getaway. But some boroughs favor it a lot more than others. You know, actually, Algonquin and Alderney have a lot in common in the sense that you don't do a lot of ducking and weaving. I mean, at least from all the routes that I've driven on. Now, admittedly, I've driven a lot more in Broker than I have in Alderney, and certainly a lot more than Algonquin, for obvious reasons. But this car just feels a little out of place in Broker. I mean, that's not to say you can't have excellent results, and as you'll see, this car will do very well, but it requires a different style of thought than at least I personally am accustomed to. I mean, I'd rather have a car be a little bit slower in a straight line, but be a little lighter and certainly more fluid. See, this car, when it just kind of, it doesn't really spin out, it just kind of slides, or it just kind of plows a little bit, even though I reduced the understeer by changing the grip value to be, I think, 474. As opposed to, before it was like 445 or something, which meant the rears had a lot more grip than the fronts. Now, the rears still have more grip than the fronts, but it's not crazy. Now, as you see here, I lift off, the nose turns in. Full power here. In the dirt, it's a little bit different. This car's still pretty forgiving, though. You have to be driving like a caveman to spin this thing out or wrap it around a tree. I mean, I didn't spin it. I don't really think I spun it out at all. I think I just hit some bumps. Because my steering wasn't straight, the car just kind of hopscotched in the direction that the wheels were last turned at when the front tires impacted into the ground again. That's not really the car's fault. That's just called me trying to cheat a little bit and trying to steer out of something preemptively, even though I should have known this car doesn't really spin out, even on dirt. I mean, obviously, you still can. I mean, I'm going to show you. Actually, yeah, I will show you now. Also, see what I mean about how little ground clearance it has and how, in spite of that, that doesn't upset the car over bumps. It's because the suspension travel. I mean, it's not crazy, but there's enough of it. Now, I will attempt to spin this car out in the dirt. Yeah, yeah, see, it doesn't really spin out. It starts to oversteer, then it stops, and then it kind of plows. Oh, I spun it out there. That's because I was in first gear. First gear, anything is possible.